I had a professor in college who I loved and still do, and he taught business statistics, but he was one of the best presenters I think I've ever seen. And I asked him about it after he gave me a fairly lousy grade. We had a discussion about some things, and I asked him about his presentation skills, and he said, you should always have a whiffum. And I said, what's a whiffum? Like, this guy's he was kind of a goofy guy, still is. And he said, what's a whiffum? He said, it's what's in it for me, which is exactly what the audience is asking every time you sit down. And so when I had students, he would say, what's in it for me? So right now you should be asking yourself, fancy slide, question mark, what's in it for me? And I don't know what's in it for you, but I'm going to propose something that's in it for you. And I would propose that innovation is the key to this business question and the key to any business question. And I think the status quo is what holds it down. And so by the end of the next 17 minutes, hopefully what's in it for you is a realization that the use of technology and the use of data will help to solve this business problem that you presented me with, which thank you very much for the toughest one of the day, apparently, as I heard backstage. It can solve this business problem, and it can solve just about any others. Not easily. I don't mean it's easy. I just mean that I propose that innovation is the key to this thing. So we'll talk a little bit about that for the next 17 minutes. My man Otto. Anybody know who he is by any chance? So he is, first of all, he's kind of a crusty old guy. You can tell from this picture. This looks like a Thanksgiving Day picture that his wife made him sit down and take the picture because he was off innovating. But he's the father of sliced bread. He is the inventor of sliced bread. And so my father used to love this saying. This is the greatest thing since sliced bread. He used to love to say that all the time. And so not that long ago, I went and I looked up the history of sliced bread. It was a slow day at Media Bank. I'm kidding for anybody watching from Media Bank. It was a slow day. But he came up with the innovation in 1912. He came up with the automatic slicer, and he went to the bakeries and attempted to sell it through, and they said, this is the dumbest thing since sliced bread. No, they said, this is the dumbest thing we've ever seen. And the reason it was the dumbest thing they've ever seen is because you slice the bread, and it immediately goes stale. And so over the next 15 years, Otto perfected the sliced bread and the incumbent wrapping of the bread. And so in the late 20s, he sold the first one into a bakery in I believe, St. Louis. But for those 15 years, he was really chastised as a guy who was wasting his time. You're going down the wrong road. That's not how it's done. This is how it's done. And 15 years down the road, he is the greatest thing since sliced bread. And it's weird that nobody knows his name, including me. I'm not trying to say I'm a Johnny Smart guy. I just went on the web and looked it up. I thought it was an interesting story about innovation. Anybody remember, I mean, I'm old enough to do this, remember the term, go Xerox this, please. And and I'll liken it to a modern day version of that. So those of us that are old enough to remember Xerox was a verb, and it meant to go make a photocopy. And I just wanted to liken the two together to say Xerox, which is now an $11.5 billion corporation today, realized they had the marketplace. My father was an IBMer, so Xerox was a bad term in our house. So saying go Xerox this in our house was a bad deal. You got points off for that. And so today you could liken that to a company that we all know and well. And I just think that the correlation there is Xerox, over the time, especially the late 90s, really reinvented itself. They innovated into a company that realized they weren't in the machine building business, they were in the document producing business. And that's a huge piece of innovation are you having trouble hearing me? Okay, good, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to point you out. Because what I'm saying is so brilliant, I want to make sure everybody's saying it. The idea is that to go Google this is something, they're huge innovators, don't get me wrong, they are enormous innovators. They've innovated the way to monetize search, and they've been brilliant at it. And they continue to innovate through TV and radio and other mediums, and what they're really doing is trying to become the next version of themselves years down the road, and know that go Google this is not going to live forever. They're going to have to innovate and do things differently than they do today. Not telling you you don't know already. This is my friend John Sweeney. And I don't know if anybody knows John. I doubt it. But you're going to be entertained, I believe, later today by some folks from Second City. John is an alumni of Second City. He owns the Brave New Workshop, which is a theater in Minneapolis. It's the oldest comedy theater in the United States, and it is an improv theater. And I'm proud to say I'm his buddy. I hired him to come to Yahoo and train my sales force on improv. And if you ever do it, it's an amazing process. I recommend everybody go through it. It's very fun. So John is also an author, and he's written a book called Innovation at the Speed of Laughter. And he shares, and one of the reasons we're friends is he shares this passion for innovation that I do very much. His form is through comedy with a side benefit, in this case, and we'll go through one in a second. So I wanted to just share this story with you. Here's innovation in the form of PR. So the Minnesota Timberwolves came to John, and how they got to him, I don't know. And they said, we're having trouble. This is around 2004. We have the largest, or one of the largest stars in the league in Kevin Garrett. We have a winning team. We have one of the best coaches in the league, and we can't fill our arena up. We aren't getting any press on the national circuit. ESPN won't pay attention to us. Nobody pays attention to the Minnesota Timberwolves, and we have this great product. Can you help us out? And so John took an innovative angle on exactly how he would help to promote the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, a standard route would have been go hire a PR agency, go hire an ad agency, get lots of stuff out there, lots of ads, live it live, all that kind of stuff. But John took a different route, and I'd like to share it with you. If we could run the video of John innovating, that'd be ideal. Thank you.
Two-game swing, knocking the Mavericks 4.5 games back in the Midwest. They were dancing in the aisles at Target Center. They're the no-fun league, aren't they? Come on, he's just showing Wolf spirit tonight.
Tonight's Dallas in town. Always fun stuff. Some having more fun than others. What's up with that guy that was dancing?
That's okay.
Is he
having a good time.
Our fans of the month, you know, there ought to be a law. You know? Well, apparently in Minnesota, there is.
Dude, stop doing that stuff.
Yeah, put your shirt on.
Wolves win big.
I love that. I've seen that video a million times. I laugh every time. I think it's great. Innovation in PR. I'm going to be brief because I've got 9 minutes to tell you how you're going to monetize your content. And I promise there's a correlation here. Anybody aware of the A11, what that stands for? A11? Football term? Football fans? Good football. I see a couple of football fans. A11 means all eligible. All 11 are eligible. This was an offense that was designed by a mathematician, never coached, never played organized football. He went to a couple of high school out in California, and he said, if you line up in a squib kick formation, you'll be able to play with all 11 players eligible to catch passes. The lineup is and this is the best I could find, the lineup is such that you have 2 quarterbacks in the backfield, and that's it. Everybody else, and including the other quarterback, are eligible to receive passes. If you want to see it run locally, Riverside Brookfield is running it locally. They're one of the suburban schools. The point is, here you have 140 years of organized American football, and a mathematician who never coached or played came up with a different way. The problem is the defenses aren't designed to stop this. So clearly, when they do stop it, the offenses will have to innovate again. Something I highly recommend going to check out. True or false? I have a true or false question. The Internet's the first medium to be born since cable TV. True or false? False. Correct. Winner. Cable TV, this was a picture, one like it, of my basement. And I grew up in Akron, Ohio. We had a TV like this in my basement. It used to be my grandmother's. And this is 1977. My father came home one day and said, we're getting cable television. And a guy came over, and he put a little wire in the back of it. And then we had cable television. What I contend, by the way, what the benefit of cable television in 1977 to a young guy was one thing, and one thing only. Did I mention that? The idea was this was not innovation in TV or medium, this was an innovation in distribution. It was a different distribution mechanism for an existing medium. The internet is the first medium born since television was born. So, okay, all that. So, smart guy, tell me exactly how you're going to monetize my content. And here's my proposal. I would tell you that the use of technology and the use of data and innovation therein are exactly how you should monetize your content. I think there's some vast lessons to be learned from selling audiences and not content. We should be selling the people who are attracted to the content, not the content itself. I was recently asked by a publication, what's the most monetizable, which I think is not a word, monetizable content out there? And I said the ones where the people come the most often, and the people that buy stuff is exactly it. And so I contend that the use of data, much like, for instance, what MediaBank offers and others, the thing about digital media is that it's littered with data. It's littered with information. There is so much. To contain that in one place is very difficult. So if you're not using modern technology, if you're not using data acquisition tools, data harnessing tool, you're not creating value around the audience that your content is consuming. And that's the biggest thing I would tell you, is the use of this data and the use of the reports that are within this data are invaluable. As a former seller of advertising, we would go into negotiations with agencies, et cetera, all the time, and we were unarmed in some cases because they had vast amounts of data and information within to come back to us with a leg up. And I'd tell you, this is the #1 thing out there. I would also share with you, I would also like to share with you a thought. I'm going to slip just to this part. So the way that your content is being bought today is very odd. It's one-to-one relationships with one advertiser at a time. And it's very difficult for the advertiser to conduct that kind of information with each one of you in the audience. I would contend that what if we put together a portal whereby you would place your content, thus your audience, into this portal, and all advertisers would go there to see all the offerings that are out there. So that therefore, you don't have to, say, go sell one eye at a time to each person. You could put your content in there. You could make your content available to just automotive advertisers. Or I could make my content available to you at a certain price and to you at a different certain price. Or I could make it available to everybody all at once. And the idea is that, that way, you can monetize your content to the optimal point. And using technology will allow you to know what that optimal point is. If you don't know yourself, there's no way the buyers can know what the value of that content is. I would tell you that I would wrap with one thought. There's a quote from Sam Walton, who we all know is the founder of what is now Walmart. He said, whenever you get stuck, go to the store. The customer has all the answers. And I used to think about this, okay, well, he's a smart guy, he made a lot of money. I used to think about this in a way, well, how can I apply that to my own world? And I think it's very applicable here. My sense is that what we don't do is go to the store enough when we create content. And we don't know enough about the people who are consuming our content. And if you as the supplier of that content don't know enough about him or her, then how would the buyer ever know? And so therefore, back to the WIFM. What's in it for me? What's in it for me is the ability to know more or as much as the buyers of my content, the ability to sell audiences and not content, and the ability to create and harness data so that I can optimize the price for that content. That's my proposal. Hopefully when you wrote down WIFM in the beginning of the thing, I've fulfilled at least a chunk of that. I appreciate the time today. Thank you.